we go. Wish I had. All right, so who can tell me what is investing?
Using your money
The
to
more you participate, the faster this goes. Purchasing property, okay? Who else?
Let me Google that.
using your money to make money,
Using your money to make money, okay?
or other people's money.
OPP, other people's money, yeah.
OPP now, with OPP?
Uh,
Yeah, you know me.
What is investing? Come on, I'm not
Maybe
gonna
like
make
a
fun.
security, I mean, that's.
Security?
Yeah.
I would say you're exchanging something of value, your time or your money, and expecting a return on it.
That's what I was gonna say.
Totally, yeah, yeah. You're investing, you're putting something in, you want to get something back, right? So, is investing, what just happened?
Just click on it.
This is a
Cliff
crash
notes.
course,
Oh.
huh, all at one time?
That's not even what I'm seeing on my screen. Hold please. Wow, that was an epic fail.
Use the, now slides.
Wow. You know, I was gonna say that's never happened.
There you go.
Let's try this again. Okay, so since I already gave away the answer. So is investing flips, rentals, stocks, collectibles, bonds?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, all of the above.
Negative.
No.
Negative.
These are products. These are vehicles. Investing is a plan. Where are you today and where do you want to go? That's investing. Based on where you are today and where you want to go, how do I get from point A to point B? What's the best product or vehicle for me to get there? Does that make sense? Any questions on that? So typically, you talk to somebody and they say, oh, I'm an investor. Well, what do you invest in? I flip rentals. No, you're like no different than a day trader, right? Someone that trades stocks, bonds, mutual funds, futures, options, those kinds of things. They're in and out multiple times a day. You're a day trader. Now, if your plan is to just day trade in order to build up capital, that's your investment plan. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
But just because you're buying and selling something doesn't necessarily mean you're an investor. An investor is somebody that knows, like, here's my end destination. I want $10,000 a month in passive income from rental properties. That's my investment plan. So what's the fastest way for me to get there? That'll determine the product I use, the vehicle I use to get there. Are you with me?
Yes.
Cool. So why would you invest in real estate? Now it's back to that, why are you here?
I was about to ask a question.
Go ahead.
I want to invest in real estate because I have an investor that I've been working with for 10 years, and I've been doing real estate for 17, and if I would have bought a rental every single year, then I would have all the passive income that he has. And so I'm just like, I want to do that.
Okay. So passive income.
Yeah.
Yeah, because do you want to eventually like stop working,
Yes.
but not stop your income flow?
Yes. I want the freedom to work only on what I want to work on. It's like there's money there, and then I can work if I want to on the stuff that's fun.
Yeah, yeah. So you can go play?
Yeah.
Cool.
My question, because someone is always gonna need a place to say, stay. So why would I invest in real estate? Because even if something changes or if the market crash, people are still gonna need a
Place
house.
to live.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, the question I ask myself is, well, what's my retirement plan? Like, unless you want to work the rest of your life until the day you die, what are you going to rely on? Where's that income going to come from? Are you relying on Social Security?
No.
401k?
Yeah, no.
How about an IRA? Now listen, I'm not saying these are bad or this is wrong. What I'm saying is, like, we don't know what's going to happen with Social Security. We've heard all kinds of things, right? But we don't know, just like we don't know when the market's going to crash. Do you guys remember, what, 2007? 2008? What happened to the 401k? The IRAs. Boom.
I was
Almost
like
overnight.
in high school.
People lost millions, right? So, is that your idea of retirement? So the question I really have for you is your financial future in the hands of Wall Street? So again, I'm not saying don't invest in paper assets, but is that your entire investment strategy? Something to think about. So when you're looking at investing, there's 3 criteria that you want to be mindful of. Control. Can you increase the asset's value? So if we look at stocks versus real estate, if you bought 100 shares of Apple, how do you increase its value?
Buy Apple products.
Huh?
Buy Apple products.
Buy Apple products. Yeah. Maybe send the CEO the letter, hey, could you sell the company jet, reduce expenses, get profit up, right? Good luck with that. And what happens to your own personal financial situation if the value of your asset goes down? So let's take the stocks. Let's say you bought, I don't know, $10,000 worth of Apple, whatever. And overnight it goes to $5,000. Does that impact you?
Yes.
So LaShawn, you talked about, like, if the market crashed, people still need a place to live, right? Okay, so if you bought a property today, let's say a fourplex for $300,000, and tomorrow the market just crashed, and your property's worth $1, do you care? Why?
Because somebody's, I mean, the market crashed, so somebody's might lose their house that needs to move into my place.
You still get the monthly cash flow, regardless of what the value is,
Yeah,
right?
right.
Now, could you increase the value of that asset?
Yes.
How would you do that?
Renovate.
Renovations? Yeah, what else?
Raise the rent.
Raise the rent. Now, if we get technical into this, a fourplex is still considered residential, so the value approach is through comparables.
Yeah.
So renovation would be the proper way to go. Now, another buyer might see perceived value because they have higher rents than market average. You know, that could be. But if you're talking commercial multifamily, 5 units plus, the way to increase the value is to increase the rents and decrease expenses. When you look at the net operating income, the higher that number is, the more the property's worth. So if you had a 100-unit apartment complex and you raise the rent for every single unit by only $35, you could be talking a substantial, like significant increase in value. Yes,
So up to 4 units, it's residential, and above it's commercial?
correct.
That's the island.
Okay, so can you control the asset? With real estate, you can in many different ways. Stocks? How about velocity? I want to know if I'm putting money in, how fast do I get that money back? Right? Because I want to go reinvest it into something else. Don't you?
Mhm.
Yes.
So you buy stocks, how do you get the money back out?
20 years later?
Sell it, but then you don't have the stock. Now, if you wait for the value to go up, and you sell enough, like, so let's say you invested 10 grand, and you waited, now it's worth 15 grand, you could technically sell enough shares to get your 10 grand back, but you don't have the asset anymore, you don't have the 5,000, right? Now, we can talk about options and futures and all those kinds of things, but in large, keeping it simple. With real estate, so let's say you were to buy a fourplex, and you want to get some money out of it, what could you do? Refinance.
So,
You could sell it, but then you've lost the asset. What else could you do?
Or a partnership?
Partnership, bring somebody in, have them give you some cash, put them on title, yeah? So you have some options, don't you? And what about leverage? As you were talking about, LaShawn. Can I do more with less?
yes.
What can I borrow and who will pay for it? So let's say you wanted to buy 100 shares of, I don't know, IBM. So you go into your local banker and ask them for a loan to buy the shares. Probably not gonna happen, right? So the only way to really leverage and buy more stock for less is to do options, calls, puts, shorts, you know, those kinds of things. So you can get some leverage in there, but you're still gonna have some cash in order to do that. Right? So who will give you money for real estate?
Bank, you.
Bank, me? Yeah, sure, you got a good enough deal? Absolutely.
I've definitely called.
Who else?
Anybody that sees a good deal?
Yeah. Like, how many of you want to invest in real estate? Do any of you have any money to invest?
You know what, it's coming, okay? It's
Yeah, right.
coming. I'm not gonna say no.
So there's plenty of money out there and
Yeah.
plenty of people that would partner with you if you had a good enough deal. Yes?
Yes.
Okay. So there's no shortage. Yet the most interesting thing is, and I won't call you out, but how many of you are waiting to have money before you get started investing? You don't have that out yourself.
You just heard me say it's coming.
But really be honest with yourself. Like, how many people are waiting to invest because they think they need money to make money? Are you with me? Okay, so that's called BS. You don't need a single penny to buy real estate. You don't. So if that's what's holding you back, it's off the table. Now you're gonna have to be responsible and get started. Who's excited?
Me.
A couple of you. Okay, cool. Usually the people in the back.
I'm in the front, okay. Where am I? I'm on the side.
Okay. So, who would you need to know in order to invest in real estate?
Just throw that.
Right. I feel like you are the bank, okay?
Where's Brian? Make sure you pay her. So maybe someone who has intimate knowledge about the market trends? Yeah, do you know how to look at supply and demand?
Yes.
So you talk about buying flips properly, right?
Right.
Like, I think there's many pitfalls in flips. One is the potential investor does not look at what is the market trend, supply and demand, so they're missing out on the future. Because typically when you buy a property to flip it, there's some renovation, there's some hold time before you put it on the market, yes?
Right.
So you're not looking at the market trend, you're just hoping or thinking that it's going to be the same value or more in the near future. But have you looked at any data or statistics to support that theory? Right?
Yeah.
The other thing is, a lot of people when they go to buy a flip, they themselves overinflate what they think they can sell it for.
See all that all day on MLS.
All day. And then the number one way to lose money on a flip is what?
More than your budget.
Who said that? Over improvement.
Yep,
People are going into flip and making it this and that like they're gonna live in it.
exactly.
So what I'm saying is, yeah, accurately determine property values and understand what the buyers are looking for in that marketplace. Because it's super easy to over improve. You're just throwing your profit away. I'm happy to email all this to you guys.
Oh.
So you can take pictures, but
I'm over here, right?
I don't care, it's free information. And someone that can locate motivated buyers and sellers. So, do you have a realtor?
I know.
I have one.
Is anybody in this room not a realtor? Oh, okay. Well, there's some around you. Oh, there you go.
Nice to meet y'all.
Yeah, hi. Okay.
I see leads.
All right, so what are the opportunities in real estate? Would you like to create 10, 20, 30, more? For simply locating a property and never having to touch ownership of the property?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
That'd be pretty great.
Awesome.
It is. Yeah. What is this called?
Realtor.
Wholesaling.
No, wholesaling. Yeah. So you identify a motivated seller that's willing to accept less than what it's worth. Now, as a realtor, you must disclose that. Here's what it's worth, right? Otherwise, they could call foul, like you stole the property, they didn't know what the value was, yada, 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 right? So don't get your license. I'm kidding. It's the
That's
best way,
complicated.
the best way to make a substantial amount of money investing is to be completely open and honest.
Yes.
Yep.
The best way. Because you're emotionally clean, which means you have no trepidation and you're all out. Like, this is what is, here's what it's worth, that's what you want. I'll give you an example. There was an agent that ended up meeting the seller of an 11-unit apartment complex. Got it? He just wanted to get rid of it. So we pulled comps. The property was worth $600. Guess how much he wanted for it?
$1 million.
$415.
Oh, my gosh.
So I told the agent, show him the comps, let him know this is what it's worth. He said, I don't care, I want it gone. So she was gonna list it, but he didn't want to deal with all of that. So she wrote an offer for $415. We turned around and sold that contract to an investor for $56,000. Never touched title, never touched ownership. And how much did it cost her? Well,
Time.
it did cost her a bottle of 21-year-old Macallan.
Oh.
Oh,
That was a closing thought.
yes.
That's okay.
It was supposed to be a 25-year, which is more expensive. Anyways, I'm still bitter over that. So, wholesaling. Excellent way to find good deals. If you don't want to flip it, you just want to sell the contract, never touch ownership, it doesn't cost you a penny, here you go. Wholesaling. Flipping. So, that's a great way to create some capital, fast cash. Here's the problem with these two methods. It's high risk and it's speculation. Meaning you don't know what's going to happen today, tomorrow. Like, was anyone a realtor in 2007, 2008? So leading up to that, houses were doing then what they were doing now, selling with multiple offers in the same day it's on the market.
Yeah.
And if you were an agent around that time and had some listings, as I did, it was really weird. Like one day, it just stopped. I remember I was working with a partner, and we listed a property for sale early in the morning so that we could get it under contract by the evening. No phone calls, no emails. I'm like, maybe something's wrong with my phone, you know? So I asked him, "You get any calls, any emails?" "No, nothing." "Well, we'll see what tomorrow brings." And the property just sat and sat and sat. You don't know what's going to happen the rest of today or tomorrow. So if you're trading these, you could be stuck holding the bag. It's speculation. You don't know. So it's very high risk. Now, what's more, to be super negative about this, no kidding. If your investment strategy is to flip and wholesale to build capital, what you also have to remember is it's a job. The moment you stop finding new deals and selling them or wholesaling them is the moment your income stops. So congratulations, you now own another job. Are you with me? So again, I'm not saying that's bad. I'm just saying make sure you have the proper perspective of what you're getting into and why. Now, could you start flipping and wholesaling to build up some capital and use that to go buy rental properties?
Yes.
Yes. But just be clear. If you want to be known as a flipper or wholesaler, just know that, like, what are you going to do with that capital to provide you passive income so that you can stop working eventually? Are you with me?
Yes.
Cool. Any questions so far? All right. Is anybody familiar with Robert Kiyosaki?
Yes, just listen to it this morning.
Oh, cool. So are you familiar with his cash flow quadrants?
Very well.
Ah, cool. So this will resonate.
Yeah, which step for that?
By the way, Brian?
He stepped out for a minute, so, yeah, I think.
The camera only records for 30 minutes. This guy.
You're at 25.
Yeah, cool.
I'll keep an eye on it.
Thank you. Okay, so there's 4 ways to produce an income. Most of us are familiar as realtors down here in this quadrant. Self-employed. You own a job. You're still trading time for money. Yeah? It's not bad. You can grow that. You can scale it. This isn't a bad thing. So on the left side of the cash flow quadrants, we've got employees, same thing, trade their time for money. So 95% of the population is on the left side, and it only holds 5% of the wealth. On the right side, we've got business owners that own the system, that use people, leverage to create money, right? A larger company that runs without you. Yes?
Yes.
Where you're able to exit. So you can make the transition from self-employed to business owner, right? Hello?
Yes.
Okay. And then investor, where you're using money to make money. But I didn't say your money. Are you with me?
Yeah.
Okay. Now you can use your money, that's okay. I just want you to... I bought 20 doors and multiple flips with $8,000.
I'm very interested.
Well, and here's the dirty little secret. You already know how.
We do, don't
You do, don't you?
we? Yeah.
How would you do that?
Borrow money somewhere else.
Yeah. So who's going to be willing to give you money?
My uncle.
There you go.
What's your uncle's name?
I'm trying to
Phone
get.
number. Here's the deal. When you find the deal, if it's that good of a deal, people will be lining up to give you money
True.
and lower interest rates. There's people out there that want to lend money. There's people out there that want to partner on deals. So, hear me on this. Do not build your network of investors, meaning like to partner with or for cash, until you found a deal. Because those people don't give a damn until you have a deal. Plus, you're working on building that team, that network, and you're not making any money. Go find a deal. Then raise your hand and watch how people come to you to be a part of the deal. Not the other way around. But most people are out there looking for money, looking to build their team and their network because you feel productive and busy. And you're still broke. You know what I mean? If you go to hard money lenders, like they don't care about you and the relationship.
It's numbers.
They just want to know, do you have a deal? Because that's what they do. It's just numbers. So go find a deal. Get into action. Get moving. Get productive. There's plenty of money out there and plenty of people that'll help you. Don't go find them first. That comes second. Deal first, network second.
So where do you go find these people? Once you have a deal?
There's thousands of them. If you found a deal and you posted on Facebook, hey, I found this fourplex, here's the rents, this is the cash flow, this is how much I get to buy it for, I need $20,000. Who's interested?
Okay.
Well, hopefully I'm on Facebook, because I'm not very often, I'll be the first to respond.
Okay.
Or you can just send it straight to Justin, like
Yeah, like, you go find a deal, and then call me, we'll worry about step 2.
All right,
If that's what it takes. You know what I mean?
gotcha.
Besides, step 2 through 10 are irrelevant until you've got step 1 down, which is find a deal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because the process to take down a deal and what you're going to do with it could literally go an infinite number of different directions, depending upon what you want to accomplish.
All right.
And we'll flesh that out a little more.
Yeah.
So, what you're attempting to do with investing in real estate is move from the left side of the quadrant to the right. Right? So, when you have a system and you've got multiple properties that are being managed, what do you do for that business? What is your involvement?
Pretty minimal, isn't it?
Yeah, you do one thing.
With deposits.
Spend the money.
Yeah.
Because your property manager will make those deposits for you. So your only job is to go spend it. And as you build up equity and so forth, might you want to get into some lending? Maybe. Set your investment criteria. I mean, like, what kind of return on your investments are you getting right now? Compared to, like, if you were to lend on a piece of property at 13% interest, 6-month note. You're in and you're out. If they don't make payments, guess what? You get to own a property.
Right.
And it definitely has equity, or you wouldn't have lent on it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So you know what the most, like the highest risk money in a deal is? What money is at the highest risk in any real estate transaction?
Down payment?
The down payment. Think about it. That's why banks require you to have at least 20% down. Because that 20% is the highest risk. Market volatility, all of that stuff. Yep. So, if you're going to lend, let's say on a flip, what do you want to know? How much are they paying for it compared to what it's worth in its current condition, not what it's going to be worth. What is it worth right now? Dilapidated and all. Oh, it's worth 100,000? Great, I'm not giving you more than 80. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Any questions?
Yes.
100,000 days, more than dilapidated.
Sorry. Don't you need a license to lend money as a private lender?
It depends. If you're going to do more than 3 loans a year, and there's some rules on that I'm not abundantly clear on.
Okay, also to discuss with CPA.
Absolutely. And it's different if you're going to lend on it versus partner.
Okay.
So that's a loophole, right?
Okay.
You can just be brought in as a partial owner.
That's kind of the issues I have looking at possible flips and things like that now. Houses that look uninhabitable are still asking $200,000. I just think the margin is so small right now, particularly in a given neighborhood. Now, if you're in a, decent neighborhood, yeah, but some of these are just in pretty bad areas, and I just don't see, the return on value for that. The ROI just doesn't seem to be that. And I see people do it now, and I've only seen two. For example, Jefferson, 14th Avenue. Pretty rough up. And I've seen a couple flips in there, they're still on the market. They've been there for a while. The surrounding area is really rough.
Yeah.
And I can see the potential down the road, because you do have more people moving down here, you want to be closer to downtown.
Speculation.
Really close to the state capitol.
All assumptions.
Yeah, it's pretty, to me, it's extremely risky.
Yeah, so I have investment criteria, whether it's a flip or buy and hold. There's many criteria, but one important one is I have to be willing to drive there by myself at midnight and feel safe.
That's a good
No, I am not kidding you, and I violated that one time.
That's a good rule.
One time.
Yeah.
My other investment criteria when it comes to multifamily, I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but we're on the topic, is when it comes to multifamily, no less than a 2-bedroom, 1-bath unit mix. I don't buy 1-bedroom, 1-baths, and definitely not efficiencies, or what they call studios. Because the typical tenant in those are very transient, they don't stay long, so you have high turnover. What happens when you have to turn over a unit typically? Paint, carpet, vacancy, like all this stuff, right? So 2-bedroom, 1-bath. So I violated my investment criteria, which is be safe there by myself. By the way, this property, we used the buddy system armed during the day.
Wow.
So that was red flag number 1. And it had 4 1-bedroom units and 2 studios. The only rental I ever lost money on, $15,000. And I was so thrilled and happy that was all.
Yeah.
I had my investment criteria. This was long ago. Ego got in the way. Don't do that. Learn from others' mistakes. Have your investment criteria and stick to it. It's there for a reason. It's to protect you.
What's your investment criteria again?
Safe to drive there, be present by yourself at night.
See, I'm a thug, so.
So she wouldn't worry about your price.
I was scared too easily. I can handle my own.
Just
This place
fair,
was-
I'm just kidding.
Yes.
I'm just kidding.
Okay.
Is that the same thing for like Airbnb stuff, buying a property and renting it out as an Airbnb?
Or having, I want to be
No, not necessarily, because you could have like a nice condo complex on a golf course over in Scottsdale or something, that's a
Right.
1-bedroom, 1-bath. So, no, I'm talking like multifamily.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so, rental properties, the business that produces an income if you work or not. So let's run some scenarios here. So if we had a single-family detached home, by the way, I made this a couple years ago, so bear with me on the amounts here. But what you'll notice is the rents are relative to that 200,000, right? So now that's 300,000, but the rents are also relative and higher. So if you look at the percentages, it's still relative. All right, so if we had a single-family home, let's say we spent 200,000 and a 20% down payment of 40 grand, rents at about 1,200 a month. Your P&I, taxes and insurance, property management fee, which is 10% of the gross rents of 1,200. Yes, you seeing this?
Yeah.
So your total outgo every month about 1,100, which means you would have cash flowed $105. Of course, over 12 months, almost $1,300. That's a 3.2% return on investment. Who's excited?
I can say with that.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, it's way more than what the bank gives you.
Sure.
That I'd be happy. I think it's too risky.
Yeah.
It's too risky because you lose the tenant 1 month and
Uh-huh.
I mean, vacancy for 1 month, or you
Yeah.
destroys the carpet or whatever.
Yeah. So let's play out that scenario. And let's compare it against something else. How about a fourplex? Again, at the time, these were equal in price. But assuming 300, now the rents per unit are going to be significantly higher. So, same $40,000 down payment. The difference is you're getting $650 rent per month per unit, which is $2,600 a month, over $1,200. P&I is a little higher. I figured even seller financing at this, 6%. Taxes and insurance, cost of insurance is a little higher. Property management is definitely more. Total payment, $1,444. Look at the cash flow now. Almost what you would make in a year on a single family home. So take your cash flow times 12 divided by your investment, almost $14,000 a year. That's a 34.7% return on your money. Now who's excited? Yeah, it's like how many of these can I have, please? Right? Okay, so let's take this one step further. So we get the single family home versus the fourplex. We've got the rate of return, return on investment, your annual cash flow, staggering difference. So the same $40,000 investment gets you a difference. That's a pretty big difference in return on investment, don't you think? Okay, so the other thing about the fourplex is what happens if 2 of your units are vacant? You still have cash flow and likely enough to pay the mortgage, right?
Yeah.
What happens if that single family home is vacant for a month?
Suffer.
That's all on you. And so that's the problem a lot of investors run into, is they buy a single family home, rent it out, but they used all their money to buy it and renovate it to get it rent ready. And there's no money left over for, oops, what if? You know, we don't buy a home warranty, so AC goes out, tenant skips out on rent, destroys the place, now you got $10,000 worth of damage. This is a real problem, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, have you ever met investors that have these issues? Yeah, it's a thing. So, I do want to stick on the value of owning rental stuff. So if we look at just cash flow standpoint, and we're going to use the fourplex, the annual cash flow, so we talked about the return on investment, leverage, you can own $200,000 worth of real estate for only 40 grand, yeah? Or less. Debt reduction. So if you look at the amortization, I took the 2 years of how much of your monthly payment is going towards principal. So of course over time you're paying down the principal balance, yes? The tenant's buying the property for you, yeah? And the tax savings. So if we take that depreciation that we were talking about earlier, there's some phantom income. Thank you, IRS. You took enough off my.
That was number one in the cash flow. You recouped your $40,000 in 3 years.
That's good velocity. And appreciation. So if we take all of that together, here's what that would look like. Your cash flow over 2 years, your debt reduction, so you owe less, the tax savings, appreciation based on 3%, which we've experienced a lot more than 3%, haven't we? Yeah. Exactly. So your equity position, we add all that up, not too shabby. So I'm not going to deep dive on all these little things. Again, you're more than welcome to have this presentation to kind of geek out on it later. But I just want you to realize like there's so many benefits to owning rental properties over flips. So do some flips if you want to build up your own capital to do your own investing with. But I'd rather have that stuff in my bank account and use other people's money.
Thank you very much, because I've been pondering over the flips, and each time I'm about to say, oh no, I'm gonna buy, and no, I'm really scared about that.
That's perfectly normal. Is anybody in here never flipped before? Cool. So if I put a potential deal in front of you, would you be a little nervous?
Yes.
Yes.
It's totally normal. Like, a certain amount of respectful skepticism is healthy.
Right.
So you double check and triple check and quadruple check your numbers. Maybe have somebody else inspect it for you, right? So that you're not biased, especially if you're eager to do a deal. That's when you really kind of unconsciously finagle the numbers. I'm only speaking from experience. My very first flip ever, yeah.
The most commonly manipulated number is the after repair value.
Totally. It's always
Nobody's number is real.
exaggerated, yeah, totally. So, I'm not saying don't do a flip. I'm just saying that is not a long-term plan to necessarily build wealth the best way. But it could be a part of your plan, right?
One of the tools.
Yeah, so if a flip opportunity comes across your plate and you can make a good $35,000 and there's very little risk, why not? But the question is, are you out there actively looking? Versus, I'll take it if it comes across my plate, right? So I'll give you an example. I recently did a flip with a partner. I found the deal, got it under contract, made a deal with them. You put up the cash, you do the renovation, and we split it 50-50. So he did. And a short amount of time later, I get my check for $18,500. Thank you very much. All I did was write an offer. I took that $18,500 and bought a rental property with it. So the rental property was free, wasn't it?
Yeah.
This stuff happens every single day. So the question is, do you have the right mindset and perspective to see it? Meaning you believe that there's hundreds of these opportunities out there right now, here, today. If you think that values are going up, there's not enough inventory, and these kind of deals, you know, the deal of the decade only happens once every decade, like, that's what you'll find. You really have to know that there's incredible deals, the deal of the decade, out there right now, today. And you're capable, worthy, and enough to receive it. Otherwise, you'll never find one. Are you with me?
Yes.
Okay, let's move on. So, the number one problem with rental properties is vacancy. Yeah? If that thing's vacant, you got no cash flow. That's a real problem. So let's talk about those two situations with the single-family home and the fourplex. So, if we take a look at this, the single-family home, one unit, if it's vacant, it's 100% vacant. You still got your monthly outgo, times 2 months is only almost $2,000. Now the good thing is right now in our market space that vacancy is kind of sparse, right? But this market's temporary, it's gonna shift, right? Okay, so it's,
Eventually.
Eventually, yeah, we don't know when, but it will, it has to. It's a market, that's what it does.
February.
February?
One of the crystal ball years.
Yeah.
Write that down.
What else?
February 2021.
So if we take the fourplex and 2 units are vacant, so 50%, now our total monthly negative is only $104 times 2 months. Big deal. But what a vast difference between the two numbers. Because again, if we look at this, we were only making that much if it was occupied the entire year. Versus the fourplex, like 2 months of 2 vacant units doesn't even put a dent in our cash flow, does it? So the thing about multifamily is it's a hedge against your risk of vacancy. Because if you got all 4 units vacant, something's wrong, like with you. Okay, the other thing is this. So we talked about, I'm sorry ma'am, I didn't catch your name.
And
Ann? So, Ann, we were talking about basically turnover and tenants damaging the property, yes? Okay, so these two situations, let's say this house is 1,700 square feet. Yeah? So the tenant's in there, maybe with a family and some pets. What kind of damage do they cause?
A lot.
Like how much?
30,000.
30,000? Yeah. 10 grand is no problem.
Yeah.
No problem. Between a couple broken cabinets, some damaged tile, carpet's got to be replaced, some light fixtures, chewed up door frames and stuff from their kids not eating dogs. You know what I mean?
I was thinking dogs.
Yeah, paint, all of that, right? So you're gonna have vacancy longer because you've got to renovate, and it's gonna cost you a lot of money. So what kind of units do you think you have over here? How big are they?
2 bedrooms.
900 square feet.
Maybe 900 square feet. Out of all the multifamily I've owned, I don't think any of them were even 900 square feet. So, tenant completely demolishes the place, how much does that cost you?
much less than half of them.
Yeah.
A single
The,
family.
the max that I ever had to pay for a renovation, and she was there for many years, was $3,000. And $3,000, like her security deposit was $750. So that just knocked it down, didn't it? And that was a rare occurrence. Like that was the only one that was even close to being that much. Typically, their security deposit would cover it. It's a smaller unit. There's less to damage, easier to renovate, faster turnover, right? So multifamily gives you more cash flow. It's a hedge against the risk of vacancy, and the cost of turnover is a lot less. But I'm not saying don't buy single-family homes. Are you with me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good deal.
Yeah, if the numbers work, right? So that's the thing about investing that I think a lot of people don't understand, is they get so excited about the fact that they have a deal in front of them that they just do it. Right. And oh, it's a nice looking house, and I love the floor and I love the paint. Who gives a damn? There's only one thing I care about in order to make a decision if it's a deal or not.
It's my return.
Who said that? Your ROI. That's it. I don't care what color the house is. I don't care about anything other than that, with the exception of the investment criteria. Am I willing to go there at night by myself? Unarmed.
Oh, unarmed?
Unarmed.
Oh, no.
Go there, or go there
Are
and
you getting out of the car and walking?
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you're investigating, it definitely drive the area, right? But if you're not willing to get out of your car and go inspect your own property at night, that's a problem.
Or you can take the Buzzwood, good.
Yeah, hire Sean.
See, he said unarmed.
I'm
You gotta protect yourself.
You're packing.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm going
So-
that night, but I will be packing, Justin.
All right, so sometimes I have my dear friend and the greatest property manager ever come in and do a little segment. And what I can tell you is like a lot of clients that I've worked with in the past that I've urged to invest say like, well, I don't want those calls at 3 o'clock in the morning that someone's got a backup toilet. You're like, who the hell does, right? Why would you self-manage your property? Come on, I already know why, because I did.
Savement, right?
I was self-managed.
One for
alright.
punishment.
Because you're cheap.
Yeah. Well, so here's the deal. I'll give you like my experience. All my properties, I bought all of them on seller financing. So I created the terms of the note. The longest term was 15 years. So instead of a 30-year amortization, it was 15. So what happens to the payment? But that was intentional by design. I wanted to pay them off fast, which means my cash flow went down. It was small. So I thought, before I met this property manager, I couldn't afford a property manager. 10% times all those doors, oof, that's a lot of money. And I wasn't like wildly successful yet in real estate, doing well, but I had some time. To empty your phone and go show these types of rentals and to deal with that is a lot more than you want to do. To save 10% of the rent per month. Here's what's more. This is how ignorant I was. When I finally handed over my entire portfolio to Fred, he increased every single unit throughout my entire portfolio by $100 a month. Every unit. So his 10% fee was less than the amount he raised it. So not only did I was able to afford a property manager, I got more cash flow, and I didn't have to do anything. There were times that I didn't see my property for years. That's a good thing. I mean, what do you want to invest your time in doing? Driving around your properties, inspecting them? Dealing with tenants? Answering these phone calls for dumb little things? Oh, especially this one. Okay, who are my supporters? Who are my, like, I'll buy the sob story, come on, you're in here.
I've heard it all.
But
Yeah.
I wanna be a property manager.
There's tenants you're like, your grandma died again? How many grandmas do you have?
I remember.
Right? Like, this is a real thing. Do you want to be investing your most precious commodity called time, dealing with that?
No. I do. I want to be on both sides. So I want to be a property manager.
Okay.
I'll
Yeah,
hire
but
you,
you're
don't
weird.
worry.
Yeah.
Yes, she says proudly.
I am. I've done it. It's okay to me. Like you know who I am. You don't act like you don't know me, Justin. I'm weird. I'm okay.
I do think it is a great experience for people to manage their property for a little while, so you know what it takes.
Oh, eventually I'm gonna get it.
Because when you know what it takes to, really manage property and make them perform, you'll be able to identify the value of a good property manager. Because you've experienced it. But don't stay there too long.
I'm gonna be a good one, so you know.
Yeah.
I have a nasty comparison for that. I didn't want to experience childbirth. I went for the epidural right away.
Same.
I know it hurts. I know it hurts. I didn't want to try it.
Hey, no judgment, I do it too. Right?
We'll take your word for it. So it's amazing.
Yeah.
Right, right.
Okay. So, you all wanna know,
Show me the money.
It's right here.
That's right.
you know where the money is?
He's in this
Wherever it already is.
Wherever it is right now.
Floating out there.
So, are you familiar with seller financing or owner carry?
Yes.
Yeah, this is the greatest form of leverage there is. And we're gonna dispel some myths about that and how to use it. So you still get a deed of trust, promissory note. You could also do agreement for sale. So let's say they still have a mortgage on the property. Technically, they're not allowed to transfer title, are they? What happens if they do? What could happen if they do? Which I've never heard of, but it could happen.
Bank can call it out.
Note gets called. So what is it called in their promissory note?
Do you want the man?
Due on sale or alienation clause, right? So as a licensed realtor, you're saying, sell me your property, carry the note, and we'll transfer title. What are you encouraging them to do?
Break the law.
Breach a contract.
Or
Breach their contract. And, so let's say that, you won the lottery, and bought the property, seller financing, they transfer title, there's still an underlying mortgage, and that lender finds out, and they call the note due and payable. And let's say it's 200,000, but you don't have 200,000, but they don't have 200,000. Now what?
You're fucked.
Foreclosure.
You're screwed.
Sorry, screwed.
So you just lost. I mean, I would say it was being recorded.
I know, I was really sorry. Now it's on the record.
Edit that? Okay. You guys can say whatever you want. Okay, so, again, I've never even heard of this happening, but you've got to know that it's a no-no. You're not supposed to do that.
I was marketing, I had a listing, and someone had done this, the seller I was representing had done a transfer, and the note was being called as we were marketing the property.
Really?
Yeah, it was a
Wow.
little sticky.
It's extremely rare, but it can happen. So are you prepared with a contingency plan if it does happen? So the best way to do that is to not. Or you do an agreement for sale.
So
We
you
call that contract for deed.
as an agent, you get involved in seller financing and carrying it out. Are you risking your license, should that arise?
I mean,
How the
if
APRA
they
looks
throw
at
you
it?
under the bus and say, well, I didn't know, and they told me it was okay, and it's their word against yours, and even if you did win, you still gotta go fight it. So how much energy, how much emotions are you gonna put in that from the time you get notice to the time that you're, let's say, free of all convictions? If that's the outcome. And are you willing to participate in that for a little bit of cash flow?
Yeah.
I'm not, but that's me and my risk tolerance, right? So, an agreement for sale or land contract is a way around that, so that you have equitable title. You don't get title until it's paid in full,
Go ahead.
right? So that's a way. Or you just find properties that are free and clear. How about that?
A lot of them out there.
Simple.
There's a lot of them out there, and in fact, the ones that I've bought that are free and clear were owned by people that have owned it for a couple decades, and they no longer want to be landlords. They want to retire completely and not have to deal with it. Those are ripe opportunities for seller financing. Why?
They're gonna get cash flow.
Because
They
they've
don't
grown
have to manage it.
accustomed to having the cash flow, and they don't need a lump sum of money. So you say, why don't you leave that money there as equity, sell it to me, and you still get cash flow? We call that a win-win. Are you with me?
Yeah.
So, the ones that are free and clear are typically better opportunities for seller financing. Any questions? I just covered everything so great, or
Yeah.
you
You
just want me to
did,
move on?
you did. If I understand.
Okay. How about a wrap? You know how a wrap works?
No.
So there's an
Yeah,
underlying mortgage. Let's say, let's use easy numbers here. It's a $200,000 property, and they still owe $100,000, right?
Oh, okay.
So they had an underlying mortgage of 100,000, and you've got your equity that they're gonna carry. Let's say it's another 100,000. So you have a promissory note for the 100,000, and that's gonna wrap around the existing note.
Yeah.
That's the gist of it. Don't make it complicated. You're wrapping a loan around another one. My favorite one to buy properties, subject to. So basically, you're buying the property subject to the existing underlying mortgage. I'll show you a deal I did with that. That's really cool. But again, you're running in that situation that there's an underlying mortgage. And transfer title could trigger the lender to notice and use that due on sale clause. So be careful. Hard money. So let's talk about that real fast.
Real
'cause I wanna
quick,
make-
back to the subject to, or at least the underlying mortgage. If they were to notify the mortgage, you get, did they ever sign off on that, like, okay, we'll allow this to happen, or?
No.
Yeah.
No. And so, by the way, if you're a licensed agent and you are going to participate in a wrap, a subject to, or even just a full-out deed of trust promissory note, and there's an underlying mortgage, you must have something in writing disclosing from you to them that you're breaching your contract, I'm making the payments for you on a subject to, therefore you understand that if I miss a payment, your credit's going to be damaged. And I know that, so I'm responsible for it. Like, you gotta have a ton of disclosures,
It's like co-signing for your kid on a car.
pretty much. Yeah, and you gotta do all this without the lender knowing about it. So, good luck.
Right.
It's best to stay away, but it's doable. My job is just to tell you what's possible. You use your own risk tolerance. You know, it's easier to make money out of jail than in jail. Use your own risk tolerance to decide your method. Okay. So, can anyone tell me the difference between a true hard money lender and a private lender? Because if you were to Google right now, hard money lender, you're gonna come up with hundreds of results.
Very short term.
And they all say
Short-term,
hard
5
money.
5 to 7 year turnaround, high interest.
High interest.
5
Yeah.
months.
Yeah, a lot of hard money lenders are like 6 months to 12 months.
Yep.
But what's the determining factor between hard money and private lender? Because a lot of private lenders call themselves hard money lenders.
Where the money's coming from?
Where the money, not necessarily.
The money line has a bigger portfolio?
Not necessarily. Here's the difference. A true hard money lender is lending you the money based on the property. The only thing they want is your social security number, and they're not even gonna run your credit. You do not fill out a loan application. They're lending money based on the collateral, not you. A private lender is gonna have you do a loan application. 1003, look at credit, look at your finances, can you repay this money? So they're calling themselves a hard money lender, but they're not, because you still gotta qualify. A real hard money lender doesn't give a damn. Is there enough money in the deal? So typically on hard money, what they're gonna do, it's typically 80% loan to value. So again, let's say you're buying the property, I'm using easy numbers, for 100,000. Got it? They're not gonna give you more than 80. They're only gonna give you 80% of what you're paying for, regardless of what it's worth. Only 80% of what it's gonna cost you to buy it. And there's no application. There's no qualification.
Is that what is called a money shark? Shark loan shark? A loan shark?
Loan shark?
Oh,
I'm not too
Variable
familiar with that,
rate,
but that sounds like Guido, but,
Yeah, loan shark, they gonna
Is there a
cut off
stipulation
your
on how
toe.
long that hard money lender?
yeah, they'll let you know. It's typically up to 12 months.
Oh,
And then you can pay more money for extensions and things like that. Yeah. So since they're not lending really you the money, they're lending it on the collateral, the interest rate's a lot higher. It's higher risk. Yeah. So if you can go to a private lender and your credit's okay and you've got good income, you're gonna get a lower interest rate with a private lender. But if that's not you, because you had a bankruptcy or foreclosure or whatever, there's hard money lenders out there. True hard money lenders. Okay? Any questions on hard money? All right. So, So basically, where do you find the money? On seller financing, do you know how much money you need for down payment? Yeah, it determines
Oh,
what are you negotiating.
yeah, negotiable.
So Asria, we have one of the best real estate investor associations in the country here in Phoenix. I would become part of that. Lots of great information, good networking. There's also meetup.com. They have a ton of investing meetups on there. So it really comes down to who you know, who knows you. Do you have money that you're maybe not seeing? Let me give you an example. So, anybody in here have a IRA, 401k? You know you can turn that into a self-directed IRA, where you're the custodian, and you can use that money to invest in real estate?
Cool.
That's really cool. Now,
Somebody did that.
yeah.
Weird.
Now the caveat is every single penny of return and cash flow must go back into that account. And you're not allowed to touch it until you're whatever age and so on and so forth.
Oh, and make the loan whole.
Huh?
When you borrow against it, you gotta make the loan whole.
Yeah, you gotta pay it back.
Yeah, yeah.
And pay
Up to
interest
that point,
yourself.
then that cash flow is yours. As long as you reach that criteria, then.
No, it works like any other IRA. You're not allowed to take it out without penalty until of age and all that.
Right, so if I took $50,000 out of my IRA, once I pay that $50,000 back, I don't have to keep paying into it.
No, that's correct. But on a self-directed IRA, when you take 50 grand out to buy a property, the monthly cash flow, and if you were to sell the property, must go back in there. You're not allowed to take a penny.
$50,000 is met.
No.
The whole time, okay.
All revenue, all income must go back in the account. You're not allowed to touch it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Did not know that.
So, do you have any stocks that you could sell or convert into real estate? Savings account, what about a HELOC, home equity line of credit? Does anybody here have any equity in their home? One of you? Cool.
I'm refinancing right now, and they're like, "You want money?" I'm like, "No, I want my lower payment." Like,
Exactly.
Yeah.
it's ridiculous. We refinanced in December, and we're refinancing again it's saving a chunk of money. Like, wow.
So if you were to take out, let's just say 50,000, and the monthly payment on that would be, what?
$300.
$300? Could you invest that 50,000 into something that pays you more than $300 a month?
Yes.
So if you were making like $1,000 a month in cash flow, and you 300 of that went to pay back the HELOC, right? Eventually, over time, while you're still getting $700 a month positive cash flow, that debt's going to go away, and you still have the asset.
Yeah, that's.
So, do you have money that maybe you're just not aware of,
Yes.
or does your family or friends? Like you don't know. You don't know until you ask. You don't know who's got a couple $100,000 just chilling. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay. So, this is a question that I get from a lot of people. It's like, how do I partner with people in flips or buying homes and things of that nature? Does anybody have that question?
Yes.
Yes.
You want to go over this?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So, Robert Kiyosaki, investing in business or team sports. Like, I don't know anyone that's became super successful in business or investing completely on their own. Like, it takes a tribe. The more people you have, the more resources you have. So, in determining what's the best way to partner, you want to take a look at a few things. What does each of the parties bring to the table? So, for example, who's got the money? Who's got the time to renovate, manage the projects, those kinds of things? And who has experience or expertise on how to locate the deal, negotiate it, and then selling it? Like, what are you bringing to the table compared to what are they bringing to the table? That determines an equal exchange of value. Are you with me? So for example, if you're the realtor, you have the experience and the expertise, and maybe you've got some time, but no money. So you come across a deal, a flip, right? And you get it under contract. You bring in a partner and say, hey, you got the money. So how much of the deal do you want to give them?
Let's talk about it.
It depends. It depends, right? How much money is profit on the table, and how much money are they bringing, and they're only bringing the money. So we got to weigh all that out. Maybe they get 30%, 35%, right? Or maybe it's someone you know, but you've never done business together. So the first one you cut them in a little high, show them what you can do, make them some money, and then have an agreement up front that like the more deals we do, the lower your split goes. Because I'm making you money, and you'll begin to realize that I'm a low risk, which means you get less, right?
There you go.
Like, what is an interest rate in a loan? What is that a measure of risk? The higher risk you are, higher the interest rate, right? Lower risk, lower interest rate. So same thing with partnership. What are they bringing to the table compared to what it's going to take the deal down? Yeah? Compared to what you're bringing, and how much money's on the table. So you can structure this any way you want. I bought a fourplex with two partners. One guy brought the money. It was actually a package deal. It was two fourplexes in one because it was the same owner for both. And both need to be completely renovated, which means plus down payment. And I didn't have the time, and I didn't want to put my money into it. So brought in a partner that was going to do all the renovation, had all the time, and then the money guy. So we just split it, 33, 33, 33. And all I did was find the deals.
Negotiate them and close them.
Huh?
And negotiate them and close them.
Yeah, piece of cake, that's what we do,
Okay.
right? Easy peasy. So I was going through the MLS, and this was a number of years ago. Pulled up a bunch of properties. I looked for ones that were free and clear. I got down to about 5 properties. When I was looking at the owner, 2 of them were the same owner. And same listing agent. Oh, cool, this is going to be easy. So called him up and said, hey, would they consider carrying the note? He's like, well, I don't know, but I'll ask. There were the 2 owners were orthodontists or something. So they were just parking money into real estate, but they had no interest in being landlords. So I made them a deal. We'll make this a package with 1 note. So if I default on one, I default on both. That is what got me to say yes. I didn't give a damn, it cash flowed. How am I going to default on this? Right? So here we go. I just found them, wrote the offers, structured it, 33%. Not bad.
I'd say that's pretty good.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah. And if you're just a money guy putting up for renovation and down payment, like you're gonna secure your equity, right? Your down payment, we're gonna sell, that's gotta be paid back. We're gonna split the equity, right? And they get 33%. You think he was happy?
Everybody was
I mean, that got a lot of money. Yeah. Everybody's happy, which means what?
More deals.
You'll do more.
Yeah.
Do it again.
Win-win or no deal,
Yeah.
period. Because it takes a long time to build a good reputation. And how long does it take to destroy it?
Seconds.
Like that, right? Win-win or no deal, period. Okay, so let's go over some common questions on seller financing. What if I don't have enough cash for 20% down?
Find it.
Yeah.
Partner.
Who said you need 20%?
Nobody.
Yeah, but you're not going to a bank.
Right.
What's a typical interest rate?
I did a seller finance earlier this year at 0%, because they didn't ask,
Sweet.
so I didn't offer.
Holy shit.
What?
Oh my God.
For yourself? Jesus, well done. Kick my ass.
Did you just close that? If they don't ask, you don't get, right?
Everything's negotiated.
Yeah, totally. So here's the deal. There is no typical interest rate. If you were to go into MLS and pull up listings that offer seller financing and there's details in there, you typically see the same thing from listing agents that don't know what they're talking about. So typical rates, if you look at the MLS, is 20% down and about 8% interest and a 3-year call, a balloon payment. That's what agents think is typical. And I don't know where the hell that dirty story came from, because it's not. Who said there's typical terms in seller financing? Like, who came up with this? It's just not true. And the ones that are going to be willing to carry, you'd be surprised, are the ones that are not offering it. Because maybe the seller's just unaware of it, and the listing agent doesn't understand how this works, so they're not asking the seller, hey, would you carry? Because we might be able to get you more money for the property if you are. Right? Like, is there value to you as the buyer in getting the opportunity for the seller to carry? Is there value in that? Yes? Yeah. So do you think the seller can charge you for that value? Yes. That could come in higher interest rate, potentially, if they're sophisticated. Hopefully they're not. It can come in a higher price. I'll show you the first fourplex I ever bought. At the time when I found this thing, the comp showed it was worth $89,000. I know you're like, where the hell?
Right.
1969.
I paid happily $110. You're like, why the hell would you do that? Because it had great cash flow, and I got the opportunity. So would you pay a little more than what it's worth? Because again, the day after you buy it, the market crashes. Do you care? No, you didn't buy it for appreciation. That might be a future benefit, maybe, but that's not why you bought it. You bought it for cash flow. So it doesn't matter what the property's worth, so long as it's cash flow, right? Okay. So, typical interest rate, what you could figure as a valid argument is about 2 points above par right now. If you wanted to argue that in your negotiation. 2 points above par. So what's par today?
3.
3? So 5? Could you argue that? Instead of saying 8% is typical, like, no, it's not. What happens if we go back to like the 80s when the S&L crash and interest rates were like 18%? You know what I mean? Like, there's no standard in seller financing. It's whatever you can negotiate. I heard those have balloon payments. Anybody heard that? Yes, no? Only one property I ever bought, the seller insisted on a balloon payment. Just one. Don't offer it. Right? If they don't ask, I'm not offering it. Hey, you forgot to negotiate a balloon payment. Do you want one? That would be weird. How long is the length of the loan? Maybe you do want a 30-year amortization because the cash flow is not too high. Maybe you want to pay it out quicker, so it's shorter. So here's the deal. You all know you have an amortization calculator in the MLS? Yeah? So here's the deal. When you find the property and you know what the seller wants, you structure what the payment's going to be. So you structure what the payment's going to be based upon the purchase price, and you come up with the term of the loan, the length, and the interest rate to get your payment where you want it. Are you with me? And don't ask them, how much would you like per month? It's ridiculous. But I want that thing as low as possible, right? Okay. So you got to determine that based on those variables. Length of loan, interest rate, to get your payment where you want it to be. Got it? The lower you get the interest rate, what could you do to keep your payment low? Excuse me. How do I want to say that? So, well, let me ask you guys this. Do you want to pay off the property in less than 30 years?
Yes.
Why? More cash flow, right? So if you get an incredible interest rate, what can you do to the term of the loan and still have a low payment? Yeah, you can shorten it, right? Because you can afford to, because the interest rate is so low. So play with those numbers until it's comfortable. Don't make it so short that the monthly payment's really high and there's not a lot of margin of error in cash flow and vacancy in the oh shit account, right? So make sure it's comfortable, but shorten that puppy up if you can, so you can get it paid off quicker. More cash flow, retire sooner. Yeah? Okay. You design the terms, and you're only limited to your own level of creativity. Get a financial calculator. Learn how to use it. Play with these numbers on the spot. So when you're talking with the seller, it's not, well, let me do some numbers and get back to you. No, no, no. I'm in front of you now and you said yes to carry. We're making a deal now. Are you with me?
Yeah.
All right. So how do you find deals? Well, realtors come across deals. And if you don't, it's because it's not in your awareness, right? You say, okay, I'm going to invest in real estate. Now your reticular activator is on, and you're open and receptive to opportunities. Are you with me? Mm-hmm. If you're not thinking about investing, you just don't see it. Pre-foreclosures, notice of trustee sales, we don't have a lot of those right now, and the vast majority of people that are investors and want to be investors go after those. So you got a lot of people fishing in a small pond. Yeah? probate deeds. That is one of the best kept secrets in my opinion. That's how I bought my very first flip. Did you know you can go to maricopa.gov and look at recorded docs? They have different kinds of documents that they record, and there's one for probates. You can pull up all those deeds, recent, contact the now new owner, and ask them, do you want to sell this? Do you think we have a lot of that here in Arizona? Where specifically?
Sun City.
Adult communities. My very first flip ever, first piece of real estate I ever bought was in Sun City. You're like, you can't do that, you're not 55. You don't know what the hell you're talking about. Anybody can own it, you just can't occupy it.
Sure.
Found a hard money lender, grabbed my brother and his credit cards. I did not spend a single penny on that deal. Not because I'm intelligent, because I didn't have a single penny. And I'm not joking. I did not have a dollar to my name, really. But I wanted to buy a property. I wanted to flip. So I found a way to do that. I sent out letters, probate deeds. Somebody responded. Bought the property, found a hard money lender that would do 100% of the purchase. Really high interest rate, 20%.
Wow.
But do I care? No.
Not if you budget for it.
Now if there's margin, yeah, I don't care.
It's a tool.
Used his credit cards, he helped some of the work. Boom. I made a whopping $3,000.
And experience.
And the experience. What was my return on investment?
1,000%.
Infinite. Infinite, because it didn't cost me a penny. But what kind of education did I just get? And I got paid to get educated. Are you with me? By the way, here's the problem with flipping. I sold that property as the market was crashing. Also, if you're going to flip, make sure you have a contingency plan B, C, D, E, F, G.
Right?
Because what I thought was, hey, worst case scenario, I'll rent the thing out, right?
Yeah.
Not knowing what the hell I was doing, new into real estate in general, let alone investing. Bought this little condo unit. Guess what the HOA does not allow? Rentals. No contingency plan. In fact, as soon as I put it on the market, within like 2 days, guy came in, wanted to buy it full price. But he wanted to use it as a rental. That's how I found out that I couldn't use it as a rental. So he passed. Nope, don't want to buy it. The market was sliding the values. I got lucky and got out of that thing and made $3 grand. That's why I said flipping, speculation. You don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. So make sure you have contingency plans for your flips. In case you got to get out, because you can lose a tremendous amount of money, like all of it. Are you with me?
Yes.
Cool.
Yes.
Okay. Any questions on that? All right. So absentee owners, you know, you can call your title rep and give them a zip code and say you want X amount of number of absentee owners in that area. Send letters to those absentee owners. You know, people that own property here, that live in California or wherever. Mail them a little letter. I bought quite a few flips that way. Attorneys, what kind of attorneys? Divorce, estate, probate. Yeah, there's lots of them out there, aren't they? Could you network with them? Wholesale companies. REI networking like Azria, wholesale companies. I would caution you on wholesale companies. Typically, and I'll give you a list of some as well. We'll go with that. But typically on wholesale companies, you can buy properties at a discount, but more so for buy and hold. It's difficult to find properties that wholesale companies are wholesaling and make a healthy margin on flips. Because if the margin was that big, they're going to eat it up in what they're asking you to pay for it. Does that make sense? Yeah. Or they flip it themselves. So I'm not saying it's not possible to flip with wholesale companies, but it's challenging. They're a great source for buying rentals at a discount. That's for sure. Okay? So wholesale companies are funny. They'll advertise the property with a bunch of pictures and what the price is, and then they're also going to give you what they say the value is, after repaired value or whatever. Yeah. It's never accurate, ever. It's always inflated. So do your homework. Highly inflated, yeah. So that's for wholesales and flips. For rentals, all the above. Plus, like, I think one of the best pieces of advice I can give you is pick an area in which you want to invest. So, who here lives on the west side? Okay, cool. So I wouldn't recommend you buy a rental or a flip in like Santan or Queen Creek.
Right.
Because what does that commute? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that was my first flip. I bought in Mesa.
Not a gripe.
I hope it was worth it.
I made 50,000.
Oh, that all
Okay,
you.
But still, I was like,
But still.
I went to that property the day we sold it 4 times.
Oh.
In a Tahoe.
Hey girl, don't complain, you made 50 G's.
Yes, that day. Just paid it
Yeah,
off.
yeah. Okay, so my point is, pick an area that's close to home so you can go to that property frequently and often. As you're learning, maybe you gotta manage contractors, all that stuff, right? And so what is your time worth? Pick a geographical location. So what I did, the very first fourplex that I bought, and I'll show you guys, I just stumbled across it, really. What I did was, well, no, that day was different. What you can do is go into MLS and pull up the kind of properties you want to buy. So let's say you want to buy a fourplex. You with me?
Yeah.
Okay. So go in the MLS and don't look at just active. Look at closed, expired. It doesn't matter. Get an idea of what kind of properties have been out there. And then you can go to the Monsoon and look at the rooftops and see, is it in a complex? Are there other fourplexes around it? And start clicking around and do some homework. So that's what I did. There was this duplex in Youngtown. And so I was like, it was a Saturday, I had nothing to do. This was many, many years ago. Now I have too much to do. And so I just started driving around. And I stumbled across a complex of 11 fourplexes. I'm like, oh, this is cool. So I went home, went to the Monsoon, pulled them all up, mailed them all a letter. They responded. That was my first fourplex. So drive your target area. Get to know it. Know the inventory in there. Because that way, when you get a phone call off a mailing or something of that nature, you can make decisions a lot faster because you're educated on the area. Got it? It's not required. But definitely it's going to make you prepared and more confident. And would that serve you well in negotiating? Yeah. Okay. So take your target area and look at like how long ago did they purchase it. You can ask your title company to say, hey, show me all multifamily in this area that are free and clear, that have been owned for at least 10 years. Let's say. Get that list, mail them all a letter. How much does that cost you? Postage? Envelopes? Nothing.
Do you have a list of maybe topics that you would put in that letter?
Yes, my letters are very specific. So for instance, my probate deed, well let me ask you all, has anyone in here done direct mail marketing before?
No.
What is a typical response rate?
Less than 1%.
Yeah.
Less than 1%. If you're amazing, you get about 0.75. My probate deed letter has never produced less than 8% response rate. How you doing?
Yeah.
Did you put a $100 note in the letter? I'm just asking.
No, but it's, so here's what happened is, I went to a seminar back in like 2005, or 2000, maybe 2003. Yeah, and it was on probate, another state, so the process was different there. But it gave all these examples, and I was like, oh my God, this is really exciting. Because what if you bought a property where the person died, and they've got a massive coin collection, stamp collection, antiques, whatever. Like, it's not just making money off of the property, but what's in the property. Yeah? And especially if they have no family that live in the area, they're all out of state. And they don't care.
You get the estate as well.
Yeah. So, the problem was, his advanced course was $3,500. I didn't have a penny to my name. But I really wanted to go. So I called my brother.
Going with the credit card?
I go on the credit card.
Please borrow that credit.
He said, I'll think about it, but first I want you to go to this website and check out that company. Make sure this is legit. I said, okay. So I went on there, and someone posted about the company and said, it's a ripoff. You can get all the information they teach in their advanced course here on this link and buy this ebook for $35. So that's what I did. And in that ebook was a letter that I altered and tweaked around to give me that return.
Wow.
Yeah. It's not that
I
difficult.
wanted the book I bought, because I got a book with all the letters too.
What's this book called?
It's just one, you know, I have it somewhere at home, but I have a letter.
Yeah, send it to me.
No.
Yeah.
I don't use it anymore.
Okay, well, I'll use it.
And the truth of the matter is, 1.5 of you will actually use a letter.
Okay,
So
I'll-
my secrets are safe.
Maybe
No,
I'm-
seriously, think about it.
No, you're right,
Like-
you're absolutely
It's
right.
true.
Yeah.
That's exactly.
That's true.
Well,
That's exactly right. Everybody wants it, that's a conscious thought, right? But what happens when you leave here? What happens to all those wonderful, beautiful thoughts of excitement?
You go to lunch.
You're unconscious.
you put them into this one.
You're already there, aren't you, Carrie?
I'm thinking, what's wrong?
Your unconscious mind, with all of its conditioning and programming,
Yes, it is.
about how this can't work and why you're not going to be able to figure it out, and all that BS is going to kick in, and the excitement dwindles and goes away, and my secrets are safe.
Just
Send me that letter. I'm
my
gonna
BS.
prove all these people wrong and send it out.
You're all welcome to have the letter.
I'm 0.5.
Here's what I would recommend.
I'm sure.
Tweak it.
Tweak it,
Tweak
Yeah.
it.
because if you
Erase
don't,
Justin's name
and the
on
other
it.
times that I've done this class and somebody's using letter, they get the same letter, that's weird. And it just diluted both your messages, didn't it?
Well, like I said,
Oh, yeah.
that letter was from years ago, so you gotta make it relevant for today's market.
Oh, baby, my shit's legit. It's
I haven't seen the letter.
You
Based
said
on results.
2005, that's 15 years ago.
It's the same letter.
I'm gonna send you a.
Back in the '80s, you
So
know.
talking about how you find deals, I got a referral for a listing yesterday, so I talked to this gentleman last night. He and his brother both live in Colorado. Their third brother passed away last month. He owns a patio home over at like 67th and Peoria, pretty clear, really bad condition. So one brother just
Better
wants
and
to
better.
sell it.
Mhm.
The other brother thinks he wants to fix it up and rent it. And they live 9 hours away. So, I said, well, I'll give you the repair value. And, you know, so just think about what are some of the other possibilities, right? So I could buy it and flip it. I have other people who come to me regularly saying that they're looking for flips. So I could make money selling it to somebody to flip it and then listing it. Or, it's own free and clear, one brother wants cash flow from it, the other brother says, it's gonna cost us money to come there and babysit contractors and we don't know anybody.
Yeah, yeah.
So what about owner financing, they get cash flow, I don't have to put money out of pocket to finance a property, and I get a long-term rental. Like,
Totally.
those are some of the potentials with
Yeah.
a listing phone call.
Even if the one brother that wants to sell it, even if you look at the numbers and you're like, okay, you guys have 50,000 in it, oh, it's free and clear, they got a lot more.
It's about
So-
240.
240, okay, so it's, his equity position is not 120 by the time everything's said and done, right? Closing cost commissions, all
Well,
this kind of
'cause
stuff.
that's after repair value.
Right, so if you
Value.
take, okay, let's subtract then commissions, closing costs from 240, right? Plus renovation, plus all of that stuff. So here's really the equity position, cut in half, because of two brothers. So you could have a down payment that's equal to that, to cash out that brother. And then now the other brother is the one that you're gonna have the note with on seller financing, because he wants cash flow. Like you could cut that deal so many ways.
Oh my gosh.
So, or it could just be a listing, right? So it's how
Totally.
creative are we when
Right.
we're presented
That's
with an
the thing.
opportunity?
We
The
got
one I
to
flipped
have
was
our
0%
ears back when
interest.
we're taking listings.
Yeah, the one I flipped earlier at 0% interest was a wrap, seller carry, flip. It was started out as a listing appointment,
Yeah. Deals are everywhere.
right?
If you're looking, totally. Okay, so here's a list of some wholesalers, you can take a picture, or you can just email you the list, doesn't matter.
Email.
Email. Can you email the whole slide presentation?
Yeah, yeah. All right, so, when you find a property, because you were driving around, or you got a list from title company or whatever, here's some ways you can contact the owner. If it's multifamily, you're probably not gonna knock on the door, but you could call them. There's Skip Trace, yeah? Would you be willing to pay for someone's phone number if it was that good of a property in the right area, looked dilapidated? You know what I mean? Send them a letter, leave your contact information, like, get a clear intention you're gonna contact this person. Don't try. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, you gotta get committed and serious about it. All right, so, how do you know, shit. How do you know if it's a deal?
Ask Jessica.
That's right, not me. Oh, okay. So, if you're looking to flip, I have a flip calculator with the repair estimate worksheet that I've created. So basically, you can take the after repaired value, pop that in there, put it on your holding costs and so forth, and then on the other tab in the sheet, it goes over every single potential room and feature of a property. Landscaping, front, back, exterior, you name it. So it'll ask you what expenses, like what's got to be replaced, you just pop in the values. And if you don't know what values to pop in, I have a sheet for that too. Like if you don't know what something costs. So that way you're going to get an accurate, within reason, based on experience, an accurate number of how much it's going to cost to flip the property. Right? So if you pull good comps, you look at supply and demand, and you run an accurate repair worksheet, your numbers are going to be better. Now you can determine if it's a good flip or not. Are you with me?
Yep.
Okay. Also, a pro forma. Does anyone know what a pro forma is?
No.
A pro forma is what you typically get when a listing agent is attempting to sell a multifamily or commercial property. So they're saying, here's all the financials. Here's what we're asking. Here's what the market rate rents are. Not what it's renting for. Huh?
Oh.
Ah, yeah. So pro forma, typically, that you get from a listing agent is marketing to tell you why this is such a good deal. The numbers are never accurate. Got it? So I'm going to give you a blank pro forma, and it's very user-friendly. I've color-coded it to protect you from yourself.
That's awesome.
Yeah, you're welcome. I'll show you a picture of the pro forma, and we'll go over it quickly. But first, so you'll get those two as well, in addition to these slides. And then let's go over a couple examples, so I can dispel some of your mental diarrhea BS about, you can't find these kind of deals. So, here's a wonderful property that I purchased. Here's how this happened, real fast. So, a dear friend of mine, there's a street right here and a road right here. He lived on the corner. Got it? He happened to notice that this was up for sale, it was a foreclosure. This lady came and bought it. He was a very social person, so he went out and had a conversation with her. Come to find out, she was a retired realtor in California, sold one of her investment properties, had $1 million cash, came out and bought a bunch of rentals. Got it? So they were talking, somehow I came up with a conversation about flipping, and I'm always looking for investors. So he got me in touch with her. Called her up. Come to find out she was not interested in lending money. But she told me about buying all these properties. At the time, I did not own a house. So she said she had these rentals, and I said, well, let me ask you a question. Would you be willing to carry the note on any of those properties? And what did she say?
Yes.
Yes.
Some more.
Well, see why not? I bought them for cash flow, so sure. I said, great. She said this one. So I paid $100,000. Guess how much she paid for it? This was interesting to me.
50.
$100.
Oh.
She didn't get cash flow.
She sold it to me exactly for what she paid for it. Cool.
All right.
No money down.
Does she just like you?
Doesn't matter.
What were the terms, Justin?
Here's what I did do.
The terms?
No, the terms were fantastic. Here's what I did do. I paid my closing costs and hers, so she didn't have to bring money out of pocket to sell her property. That would be weird.
Okay.
So it did cost me money, but no down payment.
And 0% interest.
No, I wish. I don't remember what it was, but it wasn't high. What I did give her, because she wanted security for cash flow, right? Because if she sells me this property and then a year later I turn around and sell it, she's got no cash flow. That was a concern of hers. So she wanted a 5-year prepayment penalty.
Wow.
Well, I was right. But I was like, I'm not selling it, so sure. That was a great deal. I ended up selling it like 5 years later. By the way, I had some prepayment, but I'm going to show you something really cool how I got out of that. Okay, not got out of it, I traded it. Would you do that deal?
Yeah.
Duh. Here's a little, you're like, where is that? That is here in Peoria.
Yeah, it looks like it's
I helped her buy the property. She turned around and sold it to me on seller financing. Same lady, by the way. That's why you always create win-win, so they come back. No down payment, paid her closing costs and mine. How you doing? There's that first fourplex in Youngtown that I ever purchased. I paid $110. Look at that. $7,000. Paid customary closing costs. Sold that a little while ago for $300. Only owed $60 at the time.
So you sold that?
Yeah, I had a divorce.
I'm sorry.
I'm not. Do you know why divorce is expensive?
You wanna get out?
Worth it.
Those units are
I'll
going
trade
for
that.
$379
Yeah,
right now.
Recent, oh yeah, that, yeah. So here's the cool thing. I sent out those letters to that 11-unit complex. Remember that? I told you that story in Youngtown?
Yep.
This lady responded and she said, here's what happened. She owns this like custom drive shaft company. They make drive shafts for custom vehicles. Anyways, her husband unfortunately died. She got the life insurance money, bought this property, okay? She bought the property. She lives in Tempe. This is in Youngtown. And it was dilapidated. So she paid a contractor 50% upfront cash to go and renovate it. So he demolished all the units to reconstruct them. Got it? Problem is he was an alcoholic. She couldn't get a hold of him. He went MIA. So every single unit was demolished. So I said, would you carry da-da-da-da, right? She said, yeah, great. She said, but I want the payment to be, I think I can rent them out for, I think she said $550 a month. So she wanted the monthly payment from me to be $2,200 a month. I'm like, yeah. Okay, so if I were to do that, I still have taxes, insurance, most multifamily you're paying water, sewer, garbage. And then, oh yeah, that, what's that other thing I need? Profit. I'll be negative every month to pay you $2,200 a month. So do you see it just doesn't work? Here's what I could afford a month. And she said, no, I don't want to do that. Okay, great. Let me know if anything changes. 3 months later, she calls me back. Are you still willing to buy this property with the deal you gave me? Duh. But here's the problem. She had a good friend that was a realtor, and he wanted this to have a balloon payment in 3 years. So my investor partner, who was putting up the cash and doing all the renovation, is like, I don't want to do that. How are we going to finance this in 3 years? Like, what if we can't? I said, don't worry, we'll figure it out in 3 years. And he trusted me, thank God.
Awesome.
So do you remember this one?
Yes.
I had a 5-year prepayment penalty, right? Well, guess what happened? I wanted to sell it and not give her $11,000 in interest as a penalty. So I said, hey, I gotta refinance this thing. And, oddly enough, the principal balance remaining on the loan here was only a couple $1,000 difference to the principal balance on the house that I had the 5-year prepayment penalty. Are you with me?
Yeah.
Okay, so I said, here's what I'll do. I will restart your time and give you an additional 5-year prepayment penalty on this one, and your payment's gonna be more. So you get another 5 years and more money every month. What do you think? And she said,
Yes.
where do I sign?
Right? That's brilliant.
You only deserve what you're willing to ask for,
Amen.
so long as what you're asking for is a win-win. If it's not, shut up.
Yeah, right.
Why would they want to do the deal? What's in it for them? It's got to be a win-win, an equal exchange of value. Are you with me?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, this wonderful little thing. Oops. Little duplex. What is going on? This is when I first bought it. Did a lot of renovation to it. Paid 45 grand. Now, here's where I screwed up. Want to hear a mistake not to do?
Yes.
Yeah, because sometimes knowing what not to do is more important than what to do. Okay, so I was so excited to buy my very first rental property ever that I wasn't paying attention. So the seller wanted $10,000 down. So you got me, 22.2% down payment. Here's where I screwed up. I didn't ask him, what are you going to do with that? You know what he wanted to do with it?
What?
Renovate his master bathroom at home. What does my investing partner do?
Build stuff.
Build
renovate.
stuff, construction.
Yeah.
Could we have paid for all the materials and he did the work? So like it could have cost us like $2,500. You see that? We could have saved $7,500. The guy would have had his bathroom, we would have put less money down. Always ask, what are you gonna do with the money? You better build pretty good rapport to ask that question, right? So when you ask a seller, would you be willing to carry? What you wanna know is, what are you doing with that money if you don't? So who do you gotta be to ask, hey, do you mind if I ask you a real personal question? If I were to finance this property, and get a loan from the bank, and you get a lump sum, what are you gonna do with that money? You've gotta ask. You have to, if you want them to carry. Because if they say, oh, I have to have X amount because I have to do this and I have to do that, then you're not gonna ask them to carry unless you've got enough money to fill their need, right? So if they say, well, I'm not gonna do really anything with the money, I don't know, put it in a bank account, whatever. Now, don't you have an open door to ask if they'll carry? Because they don't need the equity? Are you with me?
Yes.
Does the blood go in your butt? You gotta.
Yeah.
All right, so you gotta ask, what are you gonna do with the money? Why do you need that much money? Not from an interrogation standpoint, from curiosity. Got it?
Yeah.
All right. Here's another little cute one. Paid $125, sold it just a couple years later for almost double. Down payment was 20% on this one. Who paid for that? Not me. Another one. That was a great deal. Like, ladies and gentlemen, they're everywhere. Oh, here's a wonderful one. This is a subject too. So this situation, remember on the slide on where to find deals, I said absentee owners? That's where this came from. So the guy responded. He owed $175 on the mortgage. On the open market, it was worth $180. So not a good flip, right? You probably just throw the deal away, right? Right? There's no equity. I can't flip it. What am I going to do? He owes too much. Yeah? If I buy for $175 and then I turn around and sell for $180, I got to pay commissions, closing costs. Like, it's not a deal. So here's the secret. Deals are created in your imagination. So, where other people see something as not a deal, you can turn it into a deal. Follow me. So, that's how much we basically bought the property for. We bought the property subject to his existing financing, that's what he owed. Gave him $5,000. So just go away. Bye. Tons of disclosures, all of that. He was good with it. The other cool thing was he was 13 years into his amortization. That's valuable. So as I'm making payments, the majority of that's going to principal, right? Okay. So, yeah, that's how much money we gave him to just go away. And put a couple grand into it for some paint, some light fixtures to get it market ready. Did not put it in the MLS because we didn't want to pay a commission. Put it on Craigslist. Within 2 weeks, this young kid, who's probably like 24, 25, came to me and said, hey, I got 20 grand down because we were marketing on seller financing. Because if I market on seller financing, don't I get to sell it for more? He couldn't get a loan, but he had the money. So he gave us 20 grand. Got it? We wrapped the subject to, and his payment was $220 a month higher than the underlying mortgage. So for about $10,000, $5,000 to the seller, not even $5,000 in renovation, less than 10 grand, I created $220 a month with a 3-year balloon. He's got to refinance. If he doesn't, I'm taking the property back. And he gave me 20 grand. So how much did this property cost me? Zero. In fact, I made money
10 grand.
and monthly. And guess what? I sold it for 200, he put 20 grand down, right? So how much did he owe? 180. What did I owe?
75.
And he held that property for about 2.5 years. So he was paying down the principal, and his interest rate was high. His principal wasn't going anywhere, because it was a new loan, right? the amortization is like heavy on interest,
Right.
little on principal until over time, yeah? So when we